The company that manages the forests above Marahau says it's devastated by the flash flood of huge logs that Cyclone Gita swept through the settlement and is now reviewing if it can replant some areas. Marahau, the southern gateway to the Abel Tasman National Park, top of the South Island of course, was hit by an avalanche of forestry debris brought down by the newly harvested steep slopes, by the heaviest rain anyone had seen for a long time in the region. Locals say it was a miracle no one was killed by the debris. Our Nelson reporter, Tracy Neal, has been in Marahau, and Tracy filed this report.
A week on, and the mud in Marahau is beginning to stink. A gang of trainee rangers from the Nelson Marlborough Institute of Technology is busy shovelling silt and debris from a long driveway. Tutor Jeff Button says they're volunteering their time to literally dig residents out of the mud.
We're presently standing on an access road which looks okay on the surface, but so we're digging trenches down the side so the water can drain off and get rid of the water, because in this muddy environment, cars are going to get stuck, and that can really impact on their businesses too. So,
student Christiane Ellery says the job is tough and not just physically.
Yeah, it's quite devastating really, because on our placement we were placed in the Abel Tasman, and I mean that place has seen a bit of damage as well. All over the area really, yeah.
A nearby homeowner is too distraught to speak. He's just been meeting with an insurer who says some locals are facing large repair bills. Along the road at Old MacDonald's Farm and Holiday Park, chickens happily explore their new mud floor while staff clear out flood-damaged amenity blocks. Phil Reid is helping out, even though a great tide of boulders and trees smashed past his home in nearby Sandy Bay.
My God, it's the silt and mud, and of course you can't do anything with it until it dries out, because it's just like just like chocolate sauce, only smellier. It's been a big effort from a whole lot of the community, family, friends, even some of the batch owners at the front beach just arrived with shovels. It's been incredible.
Just 5 minutes down the road, tourists are packing out the cafes and booking kayak trips into the Abel Tasman National Park. But further inland, the boats are hull deep in mud. A tsunami of debris swept down the hills and creeks of the Marahau Valley. For Merv Hall, who lives at the Marahau Valley farm community, a sanctuary he sought after the Christchurch earthquakes, the sight of a digger chewing through the bamboo around his home is almost too much.
All very sad.
At the height of the storm, Merv Hall says those living on the patch of iwi-owned land they call paradise were at the mercy of torrents of logs, water and mud. And while there was no way out then, many have since fled. We walk up a stream which last week was a violent river.
So this would have been an absolutely raging torrent where we're walking now?
Up here. When the tidal waves came through, the log jams would release and we get these waves of water. There would have been 6, 7 metres high, 8 metres high. And you can see the size of that log there, fully grown pine tree, coming down this small one, and there are hundreds of them.
Mr Hall says the community hasn't yet tallied up the scale of the damage, the worst in the farm's 46 years. We walk to a quiet spot that escaped the deluge.
This area in here is a native bush which is covenanted, never been milled or touched, and what both ourselves and Wakatu treasure this piece of land. We really love it. But we're under threat from the milling of the forestry above.
Mr Hall says change has to happen.
What we need, the separation point granite hills around here are never planted in forestry again. It is just not a sustainable activity in these areas.
Tasman Forest Management manages the Marahau plantations on behalf of a combination of owners, including a Chinese state-owned entity and local iwi. Director Craig McMicken says it's a disaster, and while they had operated by the book, unprecedented rain from the cyclone last week caught them out.
We've had a number of mid-slope failures which have caused debris flows, and some of those have impacted on some of the neighbouring properties. It's a combination of logging slash, debris, there's some standing trees which have come down in slips.
He says the company has brought in heavy machinery to help clean debris from at least 9 properties. Mr McMicken says it's forced a rethink about their planting plans.
The plan for that area is for it to be replanted, but we are assessing areas which aren't suitable for replanting. The impacts of the storm will mean that we have another review of that.
The Deputy Mayor of the Tasman District, Tim King, says new environmental standards for plantation forestry that come into effect in May will force better practice. The new regulations include new tools for managing the environmental impacts from forestry, including erosion issues. But Tim King says they may not go far enough.
There are going to be tougher rules around a number of things. However, I wouldn't think that even those rules and these sort of events are going to prevent some of the damage that's been created.
Public meetings on the recovery effort are to be held in Riwaka and Marahau this evening. Mō te hōtaka o te ahi ko Tracy Neal Denei.